Hello and welcome to Joy-Con Cast episode 15. I'm your host Nicholas, and this week we are talking about Nintendo's E3 presentation, more specifically my predictions, my hopes, my wish list of sorts, everything that I kind of expect to see or else would like to see during Nintendo's big E3 show this year. Now, most of these are pretty safe. I don't think we're going to get anything too far out or maybe we'll get like one or two bigger announcements, but with so many games slated for 2019 release with little information, I think this year is going to be a little more grounded. I think it's going to be more so centered around the games that have been announced in directs over the past year or half a year. And shining some more light on them, giving us proper information, release dates, etc., while also just kind of rehashing information about projects that we already know about, but it's nice to remind people about. I really don't think anything too crazy is going to happen at this year's E3. While I would like something crazy to happen, I think it's going to be a pretty safe bet that's going to be an easy direct. It's not gonna, I would like to see something far out, but I would totally understand if Nintendo takes a step back and just focuses on 2019 games and maybe upcoming 2020 releases. Before we actually get into it, I think it is important to note that I am recording this before the Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct. Due to work scheduling this week, I won't be able to feature that in this week's episode of the cast, which sucks, but it is the way it is. So if you're watching this on the Thursday it goes live, there was a Pokemon Direct yesterday morning. By now I would have watched it by the time you're listening to this, but as of recording this, I've yet to see it since I have to record it before it happens. So I'm not sure what gets announced in this Pokemon Direct. I think it's crazy that there's even a Direct before E3, especially for Pokemon. But I'm assuming that we're getting a release date, the box art, the 2 or 3 legendaries, and probably a nice handful of Pokemon that you encounter. I'm assuming it wasn't too heavy with information, probably just basic stuff. That way, during E3 next week, Nintendo doesn't have to use up their E3 time announcing that stuff, and instead, maybe we can just get gameplay at Treehouse Live or something like that. So, I think it's interesting. There's even a Pokemon Direct to begin with, but at the same time, this is what I really like about this Direct format, is that Nintendo doesn't have to wait until E3 to announce big games. They don't have to wait until E3 to talk about a specific game and give us a release date or information. And while I think that is it the State of Play? Is that what Sony does with PlayStation? The State of Play? Well, I think that's a messy format. I don't like the way they do it. It's nowhere near as good as Nintendo Directs. It works a lot better than waiting until waiting until like E3 or waiting until the Game Awards to drop some important information. So hopefully other companies like Microsoft, like Sony, realize that, hey, even though maybe this is a misfire for now, we're not sure how to do this format, hopefully they, stick through it, and the outcome is every company can do a direct style presentation whenever they like. I think for Nintendo, it works even best because Nintendo, and it may be some bias saying this because I'm more part of the Nintendo community, but I think it works better with Nintendo because Nintendo is so integrated with their community, and like if you're a fan of Mario and Zelda and Pokemon and Metroid, like a lot of these franchises are all made by the same company within the same time frame. They work so well together, and the community is such a big part of Nintendo. I don't really see it that way with Xbox or PlayStation. While I'm sure those communities are strong and vibrant, Nintendo just kind of has a special community that, when it comes to direct time, react differently, and it's a party almost whenever there's a Nintendo Direct. So I think it's really, really cool that other companies are starting to realize this. And I think it's even, I think it's been one of Nintendo's kind of saving graces over the past few years, because they don't have to wait until a certain date and time to announce a game. They can do it in September of last year, get people hyped for the game, and then this E3 spend time just giving us information, or spend the next half a year spreading out information. So I think Nintendo Directs are clever. They're amazing. They've always been one of my favorite things about Nintendo. When it started off, it was a bit scary, but now it's definitely been a saving grace. And of course, at E3, Nintendo's going to do their own Nintendo E3 Direct, like they always do, where they're going to announce a ton of stuff and share information and stuff like that. So, yeah, just wanted to clarify, I have not seen the Pokemon Direct, so I don't know exactly what they showed off. But with that said, let's get into my predictions, my hopes for this year's E3 Direct. And like I said, I played it very, very safe, but there's some other things in here that maybe are a little crazier. But let's start things off with Nintendo's first party games that have been announced with a logo and a 2019 release date. The first one is, of course, Animal Crossing. Literally anything. Give me anything. This game was announced, if I'm not mistaken, at last year's September Direct, along with like Luigi's Mansion 3 and Isabelle and Smash Bros. I think this year is going to have a focus on Animal Crossing, kind of like how last year had a focus on Smash Bros. I think this year will focus on Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a huge game. It is a huge franchise. A lot of people, myself included, obviously, love this game. And I do think that this year will be a big focus on Animal Crossing. There's a lot of people that enjoy this series, obviously myself included. And there's so much with Animal Crossing that Nintendo can announce, because all we have right now is that it's a 2019 game. So specifically, I am hoping to see gameplay. I actually want to see what the game looks like on Switch. Maybe showing off any sort of new features or gimmicks, or there's usually in Animal Crossing, there's usually some sort of like new feature, new thing you can do. Like with New Leaf specifically, you were the mayor. You were the one running the town. You were the one that was making the calls. Kind of stuff like that. And honestly, I kind of hope that stays. I kind of hope that in the next Animal Crossing, you are the mayor as well. I really do like that. I like the one being in charge, because it made sense then when you would pick the ordinance. You would pick how the place looks. Like, you being in charge made sense. I want to see that return. I really do. I liked being the mayor. But give us an actual release date. Give us some information on how online is going to work, because obviously you'll be able to visit your friends' towns. I'm sure, well, I can guarantee you'll need a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. So, and for the love of God, please add online with friends. I don't think I didn't cover this, but as it turns out, Super Mario Maker 2, you won't be able to play online with friends. What on earth? I'll get to that when we actually talk about the game later on in the show, but what on earth? So hopefully Animal Crossing doesn't have that same fate, because that would be awful. That would be awful. But yeah, literally like anything, because we really don't have any information regarding the game. I want Animal Crossing. It's been so long, and I'm hoping that there's no delay either. I'm hoping that there's no delay, because I'm predicting a September release. I'm predicting a September 2019 release. And for the most part, for most of the games, I mean, there's only a couple games here that I picked release dates for. I kind of mapped out the rest of the year, and I think a September release makes sense for Animal Crossing. It's a fun game to play, especially in the summer. Like, I think summer Animal Crossing is the best, then winter, then fall, then spring. So, I think releasing it in the fall wouldn't be so bad. Hopefully they don't push it too late. Like, I don't want to wait until November for this game. I don't want to wait until November or December. I'm really, really hoping for a fall release. I think that gives Nintendo enough time from after E3 until September to market the game on TV and whatever it may be. And maybe we can have an Animal Crossing Direct before the actual release date. I think that makes sense. I would, as much as I'd love for it to be like a summer game, I'd love them. I would not even mind if Nintendo after they announced Animal Crossing, they said, and available after Nintendo's E3. If they just dropped it after the presentation, I would not be upset. But no, I think waiting until kind of fall, I think it gives Nintendo enough time to market it. But at the same time, it's not too long of a wait. It's nice 1 year after they announced it. It's not that long. I'm sure this game's been in development for a while now. So if it's going to release this year, I think it should release in September, a nice year after it was announced. And plus, this gives Nintendo 3 months to market the game, advertise it, all that stuff. I think that would work. But I do think this will be a huge game this year. While I don't think it should take up half the show, even though I'm a big Animal Crossing fan, probably a bigger Animal Crossing fan than I am a Smash Bros. Fan. I agree, no one game should take up half of the presentation. Not even my favorite game, Animal Crossing. But I do think that this will be a big hit this year with gameplay and information and stuff like that. Next up, let's talk about Astral Chain. We know that, I believe this game, actually, let me see. So right now, Astral Chain, it says it's set for August 30th of 2019 is the release date for this game. And this is on Nintendo's official website. So as of right now, Astral Chain is still a August release date. Really waiting until the last minute to release it, but as of right now, it's still an August title. Which, with it releasing so late in August, let me actually pull up the calendar one more time. With it releasing so late in August, I guess that does leave some wiggle room for another August game. But either way, let's stay on track. Astral Chain, we actually got I don't know if it was gameplay. I'm pretty sure it was like in-game rendered footage or something like that. We got the announcement from last year's Nintendo E3, and this is being developed by Platinum Games, the same team behind Bayonetta. So this looked very interesting. I don't know if I was able to tell just based off what we got at E3 last year if this was my type of game. But kind of looking at the screenshots and, giving the game time to process, almost a year later after it was announced, I am pretty excited for this game. It does look really, really, really cool. The combat looked interesting. The story sounds interesting. And I'm excited to see more from this game. So I do think that this will be a featured game. Obviously it was announced at last year's E3. I think Nintendo has to follow up with it and show us some more. And while it's not a game that we know nothing about, because we do have screenshots and some rendered footage and a brief summary of the game, a release date of the game, I do think that this is one of those games, kind of like Animal Crossing, where Nintendo is going to want to remind people that, hey, this is coming. This is something we have in the works. So I do think Astro Chain will play kind of a role at this year's E3. And honestly, I'll take anything. I'll take some more gameplay, some more story, some stuff like that. Maybe they'll even do, because they've done this in the past. Maybe they'll do like a a quick like kind of burst fire mode where they just shoot through different games, and like over the span of 30 seconds we see like 60 games. Like they just show gameplay from different things, and this game's in there. But I do think we'll see it. I do think we'll get reminded that, hey, this game's coming up. Here's some more information regarding it. Here's a staple of the release date. Here's a firm release date. And I think I think it'll be that. Nothing too crazy, but a nice offering from Nintendo. Moving on, we have Luigi's Mansion 3. Again, another game that we really don't know anything about at all, other than it's coming out on Switch sometime this year. For this, I really, kind of like Animal Crossing, I'm hoping it plays a bigger role this year with release date, gameplay, just kind of the general basics, the general of what you would expect to see from a game at E3. For this game, I'm predicting a nice October release for this game. I think October makes sense. It is a spooky game. October's a spooky month. I think that this would make sense. I think Animal Crossing releasing in September, and then Luigi's Mansion releasing in October. I think it makes sense. I think it fits that month. But yeah, I do think we'll see actual gameplay. I do think we'll see release date and all that stuff. And the thing too is that you have to remember, even after Nintendo's done with their E3, which is or their E3 Direct, which I don't know. I'm pretty sure the however long their Direct is this year, I don't think that got announced. I think in the past it was like 30 minutes, so usually it's not that long. I think I'm actually looking into it. It's 42 minutes. Was theirs last year? I'm actually seeing. Yeah, it was 42 minutes last year, which isn't bad. Not at all. 42 minutes isn't bad at all. I would prefer it like an extra 20 minutes. But the thing too that you have to remember is once Nintendo's done with their E3, they still have the Treehouse Live, which is basically where they show off gameplay, stuff like that. Like they still have Treehouse, which usually goes on for like 3 days after E3. It pretty much goes until like the last of E3, I think. So you have to remember that even after E3, Nintendo still has Treehouse. And in the past, they've straight up announced games before, showed off gameplay, announced information. So it really doesn't end after E3 itself. So keep that in mind. So even if like during the E3 they can announce and show off Animal Crossing, Astro Chain, Luigi's Mansion, and then at Treehouse continue to give us information and stuff like that. So while this year's E3 may be a shorter one like they do in the past, they usually have done 30-40 minute directs, while other companies maybe go up to an hour. They still have Treehouse, which is a bunch of gameplay, a bunch of new information for games. So that's always been a highlight of E3 as well. While not as important, it's not as like, obviously the actual Direct itself is more important. That's the most people watch that. That's where you want to announce all the big stuff. But having Treehouse where you can sprinkle in more information and extra stuff for the people who are still tuned in, that's always really, really impressive and really, really cool. So you have to keep that in mind as well. But moving on, I think those for the most part will be a pretty big offering at this year's E3. Animal Crossing and Luigi's Mansion are obviously big games, Astral Chain is a game that's coming out pretty soon that I think they want to remind us about and give us some more information. Let us move on to trailers. Games that have had directs, games that have a release date, but I think we'll see trailers for these games, and I think we'll see Nintendo reminding people that, hey, this game's coming out soon. Go pre-order it now. The first game is, of course, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Although we've seen massive amounts of infos for this game, there'll probably be a trailer reminding us of its release. It does come out in July 26th, to be exact. And I'm excited for this game. I'm definitely excited for this game. And I think it makes sense for Nintendo to want to give a trailer for this game just to kind of remind people about it. I don't think it was at... When did they do... Was it... I'm pretty sure this year they did a Fire Emblem direct, or at least a direct with like a focus on Fire Emblem. So we got quite a bit of information regarding this game already. But again, I don't think it's bad to give us a trailer, give us some gameplay to look at. Again, kind of remind people that, hey, this game's coming. Go buy it. I'm excited for this game, most definitely. So I'm excited to see anything more Fire Emblem. Next up is Super Mario Maker 2. Again, we just got a plethora of information in the Super Mario Maker 2 Focus Direct. But it wouldn't hurt to show off a little more. Maybe give us some more gameplay. Again, give us a trailer and remind people of its June release. This is releasing June 20... I probably should have muted that. It's coming out June 28th, which is the last possible day in June that it could release. Again, not a bad idea to show off gameplay and again remind people that it's coming. And like I said earlier, it was announced because Nintendo did. I guess they allowed some people to play the game a little early. It did come out that you cannot play this game with friends online. Local play is fine. You can play online with strangers, but not online with friends, which is absolutely bananas. It makes no sense to me at all. I don't understand that at all. They said that it would mess with leaderboards and stuff like that, and obviously that's not why. Obviously, I can't imagine messing with the leaderboards is... How would that mess with the leaderboards? Just make a separate mode for friends with a separate leaderboard. I don't know. I don't have any friends to play with. Nintendo's acting like I have friends in the first place. But, no, it's just such an odd... It's such a simple addition online with friends. Literally every other game has that. And a game like Mario that would be fun to play online with friends seems to lack it. So, I don't know. It's such an odd thing. Maybe they'll do some course correction and maybe they'll end up announcing during E3 that, hey, we're just kidding. You can play online with friends, or now it's been... I don't imagine that they'll go out of... If they do add online with friends, I don't think they'll go out of their way to mention, hey, now you can play online with friends. It'll probably be just something they casually mention as if it was there all along. But still, such an odd thing. So, I think that there's still a plethora of content in this game for people to play and enjoy. And while it sucks that there's no online with friends, hopefully that's not too much of a deal breaker for people, because this still does look like the ultimate Mario game. It still does look really, really good. So, yeah, hopefully we still get a pretty solid Mario Maker game. And then next up, I put in my notes here, in my predictions, I do think we will get a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate character reveal. I don't know who, but I do think it's bound to happen. with every season supposed to have a new character from the Fighter Pass. Obviously, Sprains was Joker from Persona 5. Summer kind of gets kickstarted now. It's June. It's summertime. It's time to announce the summer character, and I do think that E3 is the best place to announce that new character. I know that there have been rumors or leaks regarding who could possibly be in who could be in the next Smash Bros. Pass. I know that there's been rumors for Dragon Ball character, I think specifically Edric, which I don't play Dragon Ball, or not Dragon Ball, oh my gosh, Dragon Quest games, but I think that would be really cool. I know Dragon Quest is a huge game. I know it's a huge franchise. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be mad if that's what it was. I'm trying to think, who would I actually would like to see realistically. I would honestly, I've been rooting for Doom Guy for years now. I really have. I've been rooting for Doom Guy in Smash for years. I would say I want Doom Guy. I want Doom Guy in Smash. I know it sounds absolutely crazy. I know it sounds wild. I know it sounds like it couldn't happen, but I do think it could. Bethesda and Nintendo have kind of been buddy-buddy with Doom releasing on Switch, Wolfenstein 2 releasing on Switch, Wolfenstein Youngblood I'm pretty sure is announced for Switch, Doom Eternal is coming to Switch, Skyrim is on Switch, and plus Doom Guy is a huge character, especially in like the FPS realm of gaming. I would love Doom Guy in Smash. Give me Doom Guy. I've been asking for it for years now. That or Edric from Dragon Quest would be pretty cool. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, realistically, like anything could happen, I think, for the most part. But at the same time, I'm trying to stay realistic here. I don't know. I really do want Doom Guy. But yeah, I do think that we will get a brief little, kind of a rendered trailer for a new character entering Smash Bros. As we have yet to know who the summer character is for the Fighter Pass. So I think we'll get that announced at E3. I think that's the perfect time to announce it. So I do think we'll get that. Next up, I have like other announcements. Games that I think we'll either see gameplay for, that we'll get more information on, maybe a set release date. The first game is Town. Little info has been shared about Town. This is the game that's being developed by Game Freak. They're also, of course, working on the new Pokemon Sword and Shield games. But I'm pretty sure this was announced at last year's E3, I think. No, this was actually during this was during the September Direct as well. The September Direct that we got last year. Yo, that September Direct, there was so much content in that Direct. That Summer Direct really did have a lot. Man, but yeah, we saw kind of some gameplay on it. We kind of have got a feel for the game. And it was kind of like a RPG that takes place in a town. It takes place in a single town. And it looked really interesting and really fun. I'm trying to see here. Did we ever get... it does say it's a working title, but it did say it's available 2019. So I do think we'll see some more gameplay. I think we'll see an actual release date for this game as well. And I think honestly we might see either like a August release or a September. I think we'll see. Well, says it's still a working title. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I want to say August because like Astral Chain comes out so late into August, but Daemon X Machina is still supposed to come out this summer. You know what? I'd say October. I think October, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, they could easily release Luigi's Mansion like October 26th. And then like a week or two before that, release Town. I could see it. I could see this getting an October announcement. Or an October release. If it hasn't gotten delayed or pushed back at all. If it's still, in development, then obviously maybe it's not going to release this year. But, well, not if it's still in development, but you know what I mean. If they need to push it back. But this game did look really, really interesting. And I am excited for it. So we'll have to see. And next up is Pokemon Sword and Shield. Again, I've not seen the direct yet. But I do think we'll see at least a trailer for it. I do think we'll at least see something. Pokemon is by no means is Pokemon a small game for Nintendo's roster. This is absolutely a huge game. So even if Nintendo during what's it called? Even if Nintendo announced like everything during this direct, this Pokemon Direct, I still do think it's worth sharing some insight on the game, and it's a big game. It's worth sharing, so at least worth giving a trailer for and giving some gameplay on. So I do think Nintendo would be foolish not to show any sort of gameplay. I find it very interesting that there's a Pokemon Direct a week before E3. I think that does leave some wiggle room in Nintendo's E3 for some other stuff, but it's still very, very much worth it to show off Pokemon at E3. But next up, let's move on here. Link's Awakening. This is the 2019 remake for Switch. And once again, literally anything. I don't think. Let me actually look into this. This was also during that. Was this also during that September Direct? No, this was during the February Direct. Man, there's just Nintendo really, like, after E3, Nintendo really didn't chill. Like, even in September, we got some huge game announcements. Earlier this year, we got some huge information and game announcements. Man, Nintendo really has no chill. But we did see some actual gameplay for this game, and I don't think I'm trying to think, when did I cover that Direct? I'm actually going to look into this. I think I might have covered that Direct. Yeah, I did cover that Direct. That was actually the first episode of this podcast, was covering that Direct that Link's Awakening was announced. And I love the art style of this game, by the way. I think I mentioned that when after the Direct actually aired, like when I did my reaction to it, and obviously in the first episode of the Joy-Con cast, the art style it's like it's clay animation. It looks so nice. This is how you take a game and remake it. You don't necessarily need to make it look better or more realistic, but making it look different. Doing something a second time around that you didn't get to do the first time. Taking it and bringing it to life in a new way. Reimagining that game. I think it looks so beautiful. It has top-down and kind of a side-scrolling look to it. Or point of view, I should say. And it looks so beautiful. It looks so good. I've never played Link's Awakening, but I'm very, very excited to be able to when this game comes out. So I do think we'll get some more gameplay. I do think we'll get kind of an announcement. Not really an announcement, but you know what I mean. More information regarding the game, more gameplay, stuff like that. And I think that this game's set for a December release. Kind of like how Mario Odyssey last year was a December release. It was a nice year. Actually, no. Was Mario Odyssey? Mario Odyssey, I think, was November? Or was it December? I don't know why. I remember something came out. Let me actually see. No, it came out in November. Because I think it came out Yeah, October 27th. I remember because that's when Stranger Things Season 2 launched. And I remember being blessed playing Super Mario Odyssey on my Nintendo Switch and watching Stranger Things Season 2. I was blessed. I don't know why I think this game came out in December. But I do think Link's Awakening will come out in September or in December. Because I think honestly the rest of this, like at least for summer, in June we'll have Super Mario Maker 2. July is Fire Emblem and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. August is Astral Chain, and I have another game that we'll talk about, but I think it'll be Astral Chain and potentially Daemon X Machina unless it gets delayed. September will be Animal Crossing. October would be Luigi's Mansion 3 and possibly Town. November is obviously Pokemon. I don't think Nintendo's going to want to release anything alongside Pokemon just because that's such a big game. I think they'll want it to stand its ground and own that month. And I could see Link's Awakening being a nice December game to round off the year. So that's what I think. I think Link's Awakening will be in December. I know it's far away, but something has to release that late. Not every game can. We can't have a game releasing every other week. So I think, I think it's a December release. I don't know why. I feel like it's a nice December release. But let's move on because we still have a couple other things that I want to talk about here. Next up is Daemon X Machina. Brief gameplay popped up last E3, and a new demo earlier this year showed some promising stuff. There was a vague summer 2019 release, but it'd be nice to follow up the demo with new information and maybe some gameplay during the actual E3. And hopefully this game, as well as like Astral Chain, will have a decent focus at Treehouse, like I mentioned earlier. So, let me actually go. I'm going to Nintendo's official site right now. As of right now, there's still a summer 2019 release. I played the demo, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. The one thing I will say is the game needed to be touched up a little bit in the graphical department because some of the textures weren't that pretty to look at, and it was kind of hard to tell what it is I should have been shooting, especially in handheld mode. So that's the one concern that I had, was just making the game look a little sharper, a little cleaner. Other than that, I enjoyed the game. I think it'll be a fun full release whenever it releases, whenever it drops. For a demo, it was all right. It was pretty fun. But there really hasn't been anything since the announcement other than, obviously, we got the demo. I think if this is a summer release, July we're getting two big games. In July, we're getting Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Fire Emblem. As of right now, in August, as far as I'm concerned, we're only getting Astral Chain. Let me actually see. Let me actually check the eShop, and I want to make sure there's no other. I don't think there's any other first or second or even like a third party game coming out in August. But I think August could work for Daemon X Machina. It really could. But let me check the coming soon on the eShop here, just in case. Because they did add. Oh my god, the eShop is so laggy. They did add Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Fire Emblem and Astral Chain to the eShop. I don't think they're all available for pre-order. Let me actually see. They are not available for pre-order, but Marvel is slated for July 19th. Fire Emblem July 26th. Astral Chain August 30th. I could definitely see Daemon X Machina possibly getting an August release. That is that it. I don't know if it'll get a delay. I don't know why. I feel like this game, if it's still slated for a 2019 release, and specifically a summer 2019 release, I think an August release could work. I definitely think an August release could work. So, that's that. Daemon X Machina. I'm excited for the game. I just want to see more. Next up is Doom Eternal. Specifically, I'd like to see gameplay. Bethesda will obviously have their own E3 presentation. I'm sure that we'll see Doom Eternal gameplay. They did show off some gameplay. I think it was at like QuakeCon or Quick Champions or something like that. They showed gameplay, and obviously it was probably for like the PS4 or PC. It was by no means the Switch, but I'd like to actually see Switch gameplay for Doom Eternal. I loved the first Doom. The 2016 Doom was incredible. It's definitely one of my favorite games of this generation. It's up there with The Last of Us. Well, I guess The Last of Us was last gen technically, but it's up there with like Breath of the Wild. It's such an incredible game. I love it so much. And I'm very excited for Doom Eternal. And I want to pick up Doom Eternal on Switch. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to buy it on Switch instead of PC this year. So hopefully we actually see gameplay, whether it's from Nintendo's E3 or Bethesda's. I just want to see gameplay. I want to see what it's going to look like. Next up, Netflix. I think that whether it's at Nintendo's presentation or show, maybe not from Nintendo's, but maybe from Netflix's. I think Netflix will be announced for Switch in some way. I personally, I just want Netflix on Switch so that everyone else that wants Netflix on Switch can have Netflix on Switch. I don't care for it. I either use Netflix on my PC or Apple TV when I'm at home, and everywhere else I go, I use it on my phone. I really don't care to have it on my game consoles because I use those for gaming. But I know that there are people who maybe only have a Switch, or I will admit the idea of like having a Switch with Netflix and having it docked on a TV and then being able to undock your Switch, like that would be kind of cool. But I don't think it's for me. It's by no means anything like that I get my hopes up for or that I need. But I do hope that it gets an announcement just for the sake of getting an announcement. Just for the sake of it. So yeah, I do think that's that. Other than that, I do think Dragon Quest Builders 2, that was also announced at a Nintendo Direct. I think the first one actually did pretty well. I think a lot of people enjoyed it. So hopefully we get kind of a nice reminder on that, some gameplay, some stuff like that. And then of course, indie titles. We always see indies at Nintendo's E3. They always do some really, really cool things for indie devs. So I do think indies will, of course, always play a part of Nintendo's Directs, whether it's the big E3 conferences or the smaller ones that they do throughout the year. I think E3 2019 will be no exception, and we'll see some nice indies. To round things off, I have some, I guess, far out crazy ideas, some things that may or may not happen, but you know what? I needed something. I needed to throw something in here that was crazy and out there. Because, like I said, I played it pretty safe for my predictions this year. I don't know. I always suck at predicting things for, like, E3. Because it's like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what Nintendo's going to do. But I played it very safe this year. But I thought it'd be fun to feature some far out crazy ideas. Some stuff that may or may not happen. It's a 50-50. The first one is a Metroid Prime trilogy. It would be a perfect placeholder until Metroid Prime 4 is ready and released. Especially after the delay. It would give players, whether they're new or old, it'd give them something Metroid to play and hold us over until Metroid Prime 4. I've never played any of the Metroid Prime games. I would love to sit and marathon the Metroid Prime games. And instead of having to go out and buy them for, go out and get them used for my Wii and GameCube and bust them out, bust out my Wii. Like, I don't want to do that. Just give them to me on Switch. Give them to me on Switch. I think this would make sense. I do think it's something that has been predicted or rumored before. But let's be honest, it's a safe bet. It's something that makes sense. It's realistic. I would love a Metroid Prime trilogy. As far as like where they would fit it in the year, that I don't know. But I definitely could see them doing like announcing this at E3 and then I don't think this is something that would need that much of a um. They might have to announce this and wait that long until release. Like I could see this maybe just dropping in the middle of summer or early fall or something like that. Or maybe they would market this as a bigger game and give it, its own month to shine. Or maybe it'd be a 2020 release. Who knows? That's crazy to say and crazy to think that 2020 is right around the corner. It's 6 months away, but yeah, I'd definitely like to see a Metroid Prime Trilogy announcement because I'd like to play those games. Nintendo, give them to me. Next up is Bayonetta 3, possibly some gameplay and a release date. I'm thinking there's no way it's a 2019 game. There's just no way on this planet that Bayonetta 3 is coming out this year. There's no way. There's literally nowhere to put it. There's no wiggle room to announce or to release this game this year. I'm thinking a mid 2020 release. I'm thinking like either like maybe an early 2020 or like throughout the summer, something like that. Or actually, you know what? Maybe I don't know. Bayonetta to me kind of screams like a fall game. But either way, I think it'd be cool to see gameplay, especially since this game was announced. Was this game announced at the 2017 E3? No, this game. I have to look this up now. Or was it during the Game Awards? It was during the Game Awards. So, yeah, it was announced at the Game Awards December 2017. It was announced Bayonetta 3 is coming to Switch as an exclusive title. I remember that now. I knew this game was like I remember that now. So yeah, this game was announced in 2017. This is a long time ago now. So yeah, it'd be really really nice to actually get some gameplay on this game. Or at least something, because let's be honest, it's Bayonetta. It's a pretty big game for Nintendo these days. And honestly, I've not played. Well, I've played a good chunk of Bayonetta 1. I might have to go through and actually. I need to go through and play Bayonetta 1 and 2, to be honest. So hopefully this game gives me enough time to do that. There's just so many other games I'm playing, and my gosh. But yeah, I do think Bayonetta 3 will be a 2020 release. Hopefully not that far away, but maybe they'll give us some gameplay to kind of hold us over. I think that would be really, really nice. Pikmin 4, because why not? Like I said, I needed something. I needed something far out and crazy. Why not Pikmin 4? It's been a long time. Let me actually see when Pikmin 3 came out. It's been a long time. Pikmin, it came out in 2013. It's been 6 years now. It's been crazy. It's been crazy, and I do remember reading that Pikmin 4 was like confirmed. I do remember like it being confirmed. And that, or not, I remember reading that it was like in development. But I think this was like let me actually look into this. This was like in 2015. Was that it was very close to completion. So I don't know. I've never played a Pikmin game. I'd love to play Pikmin 4 if it were to be released. Let me actually see. I guess during the E3 2017, Miyamoto apparently said that the game is still in development, but that was all he could confirm. So yeah, I think that this would be one of those games. That would be a nice little announcement at E3. And then obviously this would again be a 2020 release because there's nowhere on Earth where this fits into the 2019 calendar year. So Pikmin 4, why not? Why not? And then last but not least, this is just wishful thinking on my part, is that Nintendo announces the SNES library for Nintendo Switch Online. The NES library is getting kind of old. I think Nintendo needs to mix it up. I think they need to do something different, something else. While I'm not a huge fan of like the Nintendo Switch Online NES games, like the system that they have in place, I wish that Nintendo just released Virtual Console and just released, I don't know, I think it's fine, but like, I don't know, I'm not too big into retro games in the first place, so you're already, like, I'm not a target here, I'm not a target demographic for this, but then Nintendo's just kind of, it's a slow burn. Like, every month we get 2 games, and there's no guarantee that they're going to be good games. I mean, for crying out loud, last month we got Clu Clu Land. So I think it's time to mix it up. I think it's time to round off NES, like, finish it up, release the last couple games, maybe do more than 2 games 1 month, and then start introducing SNES games. In all honesty, I'd love just straight up Virtual Console. Just give us like NES, SNES, N64, GameCube Virtual Console games. But if they're going to continue to do this system where they roll out 2 old games every month, then at least start to mix it up. It's been a while now. At least mix it up. Give us something different. Give us something new. You know, NES is getting old. Give us some SNES games. Or introduce, more discounts on the... Well, they did introduce the game vouchers, which I think is really, really cool. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll do something where they'll introduce something cooler for Nintendo Switch Online members. But, again, it's wishful thinking. But with that said, this episode is running on a bit long. So, we're going to go ahead and call it off here. Let me know in the comments what you expect to see or want to see or predict to see from Nintendo's E3 Direct this year. I'm excited for it. Last year's E3 wasn't as good as the year before, but I think this year they might turn things around. Hopefully we get a more, I like Nintendo's E3s. I think they usually do a good job of just announcing games. You know, they don't show too much. Even last year when they showed off a lot of Smash Bros, we still got quite a bit of other stuff as well. So I'm excited for it. Of course, the Pokemon, well, by the time I catch you guys again next week, let me actually see. Does Nintendo's, let me actually see. Does Treehouse have, Treehouse E3 2019, it goes from the 11th to the 13th. I'll probably end up, because usually I record on Wednesdays. I can't imagine there'll be too much on that Wednesday or Thursday at Treehouse. But hopefully if my work schedule allows me, I'll be able to actually talk about Nintendo's E3. Well, I have to. I'm going to have to talk about Nintendo's E3 next week. I'll also have to somehow squeeze in the Pokemon Direct from yesterday, because I definitely do want to talk about that in some way, shape, or form. But either way, I'm going on. I'm just rambling at this point. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Joy-Con Cast. Of course, if you want to support the show, you can find a Patreon link in the description down below. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Joy-Con Cast Twitter is also in the description down below. Thank you for feedback, support, and overall just listening. It is appreciated. With that said, I'll catch you in the next one.